So, that you clicked on this video means one of two things. You most likely either got deferred or you're wondering what happens when you do get deferred. Now, you're in luck because I myself did in fact get deferred, so I'm going to walk you through the whole process. Before we begin, if you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. My name's Yanni Economos, and this is my channel where I talk about college, life, and anything in between. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, please smash that subscribe button, turn on post notifications, and share this video so I could get it out to broader audiences, to people who need the advice, need the information, and need the tips. Now, really quick, before we dive deep into answering this question, I do have to say that the things I'm going to show you in this video do not 100% mean you will get into the university or college you were deferred from. They just mean that they will improve your chances of trying to get into that school. And without further ado, let's get to my screen. All right, so here we are on my computer screen. The first thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is kind of my experience with what I did. So I applied to the University of Chicago early decision or early action first, and then early decision 2. I got deferred through the early action program. So obviously one of the first things I did, and one of the biggest tips right now starting off this video, is to learn more about the school or university that you got deferred from that you still want to continue with. So what I did was I went to the University of Chicago's webpage. You could do this with any of your schools. And I just looked around and really engaged with the university as a whole. I looked at all the things that they had to offer in terms of admissions, in terms of departments, in terms of their staff and faculty. But one of the things I want to highlight is that I really took a deep approach into their research section. For me, I was applying with biology, like I said in previous videos, and what I really wanted to see were some of the different pieces of research that the professors had done and some things that I can connect to, and also be inquisitive about, ask questions about. So this is the main webpage I was looking at on my screen. As I could scroll down here and we could see. And the main things that I was really looking for were things having to do with the pediatric side of the medical department. So in my case, I looked at different research pieces of research that professors did based on those areas. Now, if you're a student who is probably not applying with biology, because there are many who may not be, you could also just go to the research section and then really just look at a bunch of these new pieces of research that they have done through the new news section, which are very up to date and very recent. But another thing you could do is go to faculty research and really just take a look at all the different pieces of research that all of the faculty and the administration did. So this is a really great tool to just get really into and engaged with the university that you're trying to get into. So I think this is definitely a really good tool to just get in there, go learn more about your university, learn more about the research they could do, but also just in general how they are and who they are as a college and a university. So I think this is a big thing, and you could actually look up the research section on really any university as long as it has a web page. I've done it with many of them, and I'm sure you will be able to too. So just to develop my ideas here and regroup my ideas, tip number 1 is to really get used to, comfortable, and engaged with the university that you're trying to get into after being deferred. All right, so tip number 2 is to follow up that application that you got deferred with maybe another letter of recommendation. Now, I say maybe because if you had already sent 3 or 4, which is a pretty large number of recommendations, then I would not recommend doing this just because they have enough, and sending another one would really just be basically adding more fluff to your application, and that is something that isn't always helpful and may actually hurt you. So if you already sent a good amount, definitely maybe don't do this. You can maybe take it as a suggestion, but it's really just up to you at the end. If you sent between 1 to 3 or 1 to 2, I recommend maybe doing this. So I have my Gmail pulled up here, and one of the big things I would do is, this is going to be a fake draft right here, but if you're sending it to your teacher, so let's say I have my teacher, don't address the subject line as letter of recommendation, just because they get millions of those and they don't want to always be seeing that. Ask for, or say, what I tend to do is I go greeting and request or favor, or really something that just seems more professional and a lot nicer in a way, because They do not want to see something that's very aggressive. So that's the subject line I tend to go with. In terms of writing the actual email, you always want to start off with dear teacher, teacher's name, very respectfully. You could always say, I had just recently got deferred from college, university, whatever your name is, and I was wondering if you would be able to write a letter of recommendation for me to help update my application that was already submitted. So that's the first line you could write. You could obviously change this. Do not take my spelling, grammar, and word structure / sentence structure the same way, because I just wrote this in 2 seconds and this is absolutely not well written. But so you want to write something along these lines. But in between, you also want to like ask how they are. Don't just abruptly go in there and be like, "Can you write me a recommendation?" You know, if your email is literally one line and it says, "Can you write me a recommendation?" the teacher's just gonna be like, this is ridiculous. And of course, obviously, this is a big thing. Be respectful when you're sending it. Say, please, thank you. Say, if not, that's okay as well. I mean, they don't have to do anything for you. You can't force them to do this. That's one of the big things that I really want to emphasize, just because a lot of people thought that in high school, especially where I went. There were so many students who really thought that they could just get a recommendation, even if, they did terrible in the class or they barely knew the teacher. And I think that's ridiculous. So, you don't want to be aggressive. You really just want to be respectful, respect their boundaries, respect what's going on in their lives. Everyone has different lives, so that's a big thing as well. But yeah, this is a really quick general line. What you also want to do is give them some information that they could use in their recommendation. So you could talk about your hobbies. So you could say, I can send an additional Google Doc with all my extracurricular activities, honors, and accolades. So if you kind of add that, it helps them to write the essay and actually talk about the things that you had done that could really speak to who you are as a person, as an applicant, obviously as a student, and just overall as a well-rounded individual. So that's always a good way to go. And I think this is a really solid approach when being deferred, just because it's so helpful just to get another letter of recommendation if you had only sent a couple, like I said, 1 to 2 or 1 to 3. So the next thing I'm going to slightly emphasize, because a lot of the dates have already passed and regular decision, I believe, is basically done in January. However, there are still standardized testing dead dates and test dates that are still going to occur. Specifically on my screen, we have the ACT on February 6th. That's the next one. As well as for College Board, the SAT. The next one's March 13th. So I'm going to assume this is more for the class of 2022 that's graduating next year. But I think this could still help, because there are still a lot of universities and colleges that are doing rolling admission, meaning that they just expect your application to be submitted within a given time. They don't have a deadline like regular decision where it's like January 1st or January 5th. So if it's after February or March, then you could still send these scores depending on when you get your results back. So this is just a nice reminder to you all. I'm sure many of you know this already, but it's always nice to see this, just because you still have the chance to take another exam, take another ACT, SAT, and hopefully maybe get a higher score that could also boost your application. All right, so another tip when you're deferred is to really work on your resume, build it, or just even start one if you haven't even started one before. On my screen, we have one of many websites and resume, builders and polishers that really work to help you display your information into a certain document and be able to organize your experience in terms of work, in terms of volunteerism, in terms of school, and in terms of basically just what your life has kind of been like in that way. So this is a great website. This is a website I use to make mine. I'll show what mine looks like in the next one. This is a simple step. You see that you could choose a specific template, or I believe you could also design your own, which I'm sure a lot of people tend to do. And then there are different sections that you can fill out, starting with your name, your email, then going to kind of like a description. You could say who you are as a person, what you're looking for, your goals. And then you could also go next to your volunteerism, your jobs, and then your education, specifically high school. But yeah, this is a great way to help update your application when you get deferred. All right, so on my screen here, we have my resume that I used from that website. In the top here, I used the color green just because I thought it fit well. And then I have my header, my name, my kind of area where I'm from, Chicagoland, my phone number, and then my my email. Then a summary of myself. This is the description, where your goals, and then your skills. And then in terms of experience, I did my volunteerism, my 2 main jobs I had during high school, and then my education and training where I went to high school, some of the accolades I had, and then where I'm currently at. This is a great way to just really help boost your application when we talk about the deferral pool. All right, so the last tip I wanted to leave you all with was one I actually stated in my previous video, how to get into Northwestern University, right here, or basically right up there. It is the importance of writing a letter of continued interest, or a LOCI. And I already spoke about this, but what it is a follow-up letter that really highlights your accomplishments and improvements that have recently occurred since applying. So as you can see on my screen here, there's a sample letter of continued interest template type thing that I made. Do not copy this word for word, just because if you all copy the same thing, it's going to be very, very obvious that there is something fishy going on. So I do not want to hurt your chances. I just want to show you what one will look like really quickly. And as we can see here, there's a key right here showing that whenever there's a bracket, you want to insert your own information. So we could start with a common type of saying is "Dear," and then your admissions officer's name. So if you could try to find that, it's usually on your university's webpage under contact or faculty, and you can find it based on your state or area that you're in. They usually go by that. And then going from that, we could go to our first paragraph, which says, I wanted to thank you for continuing to consider me for admission, to insert your school or university's name. And then you want to do class of, and then your graduating year from that university, which will most likely be 2025 for most people watching. So the next, we could go to I confirm that I use the school's name again is still my number one choice, and that I've been working extremely hard to make the goal of being accepted possible. So you're just reiterating that you still have the love for that school, and the reason you're going the extra mile is because you still call it your number one choice. And then the last thing I want to say specifically, I wanted to highlight some of the key things that I've been doing that make me stand out from all the other applicants. You could also throw in there that I think make me stand out, just because it might sound better. Okay, so the next thing we could say is, since submitting my application, I've been working tirelessly to continue to excel at the highest level of my school. This next sentence / sentences is where you want to throw in all the activities, all the new grades, improvements, honors, accolades, test scores, recommendations, anything that you recently got since submitting that you want to talk about, that you think is important to talk about. If there isn't anything, talk about an honor that you had received maybe in this year, or an event that you participated in, or a project, or anything really different and that could really showcase who you are as a person, as an applicant. All right, so the next paragraph is, we could start with, furthermore, I've also been staying in close contact with the school's name. Like I said in the beginning, you want to really stay in contact with the school, stay engaged. You could talk about live streams, discussions, Q&A sessions, Zoom meetings, virtual campus tours, or really anything that you have been into that's been making you stay in the loop of the university and what they've been doing. If you talk to a professor or faculty member, even better, definitely talk about that. And then the last part, you really just want to close with, like I said in the beginning, I know that this school, you want to put in the name again, is the place for me. You want to continue to reiterate that this is the only school that you call yourself home. I cannot imagine myself in another school or place to call home, like I said. And I know that if admitted, I will work hard to maintain the honor and excellence that comes with being this is one of my favorite lines. You always kind of want to end with the mascot of the school. So, you could say like, the school's name and then the mascot. I think it's just a really nice ending, really ties in the whole letter, makes it seem like you really care, which you're going to be wanting to show that and express that you do really care. I mean, this isn't you're not writing a fake letter. This has to be true and genuine from the heart. At the end, you want to say thank you for taking the time to read this letter. Warm regards, your full name, and then you could say class of whichever class you are. And that's always nice to end. So this is a nice sample template just to really kind of get your ideas flowing. If you didn't know what it looked like, this is a nice draft that you could kind of look at and see what it's like. Like I said, do not copy this. Big warning, do not copy this. It will only end poorly for you because the admissions officers know, and when they see one that looks the same, they'll know right away, and they most likely will not admit you from that deferral. So this is a great ending, and I think that's gonna wrap up the video. I hope, like I say in all my videos, hope this was helpful. I hope it was very informative for you all that were wondering what to do after you get deferred, because I know it was a question for me, and I wanted to make it easier for all of you who have gotten deferred. I hope you all learned something. I hope you all took some value from watching this video, from taking time from what you were doing and watching the video, clicking on it. I hope you all enjoyed. Please leave a like, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Stay safe, stay strong, and always remember to stay motivated.